to us. You said you're very traditional. You're from Ukraine.
Yeah.
You're Ukrainian. How long have you been in the U.S.?
God, I came here when I was like 5 years old.
Oh, okay. So you okay?
Yeah. So I grew up in America. Yeah.
Okay.
My whole entire family.
You're a citizen.
I became a citizen when I was 15 years old.
Okay. You say you like men to take care of everything, even if I make more than them, which I typically do.
I do.
What do you do for work again?
Tech sales.
Tech sales. Okay. You're traditional.
I am. Yeah.
Yet, earlier in the conversation and in your notes, you said you were a radical feminist. So traditional radical feminist don't really go together.
You're
Do you know what
totally right. You're totally right. I think I probably should have clarified more. I think I'm a radical feminist in a lot of ways. Like I mentioned earlier, I think in terms of like transgenderism, I'm very much a radical feminist, is what they would label me as.
Okay.
I love second wave feminism. I hate the third and fourth wave. Fourth wave is debatable that we're in now, but yeah, I don't like it. But yeah, I'm traditional.
But I'm not sure if you're that traditional.
In what way? What do you think I'm not?
For example, granted, you have been invited on to a sort of a dating debate show to debate. So, but you are very combative in your demeanor, and I'm going to give you some. I forget the exact term.
We love the blonde.
You're going to give you some leeway, right?
Yes, because if I've invited someone specifically to debate, I anticipate that they're going to be engaged in a debate with me. So it's not like
1,000%.
But you did sex work.
Yeah.
You consider yourself to be a radical feminist, which
in some degree, it's a bit nuanced.
But so that's where, like, how do you reconcile being a traditional woman with you have a history of sex work?
Yeah.
Was it?
That's a great question.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but was it? So you did prostitution?
Well, that's basically what
the sugar
that
daddy
era was. Yeah, the sugar daddy. There is no such thing. They sell you a lie. At least back then. I know OnlyFans now you can spread your asshole without touching a man and make $400 a week. That's what's normal now. I'm not claiming that's what you do, and God bless. But back then with seeking arrangements, yes. So if you're going to be on seeking arrangements, there's no such thing as going on a date with a guy and thinking that you're not going to have to touch the motherfucker, for, money. You're going to have to do something. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so in turn, yeah, like absolutely. That is 100%. They are paying for sex. You think you're going to get a dinner out of it? Maybe the first 2 times. But if they want to keep seeing you, you're going to have to fuck them. That's the reality. And that's a really shitty reality. And it's very hard.
Reality.
Well, have you ever fucked a man for money?
Nope.
So then shut the fuck up. So what I'm trying to say is right now I'm a woman who's 25 years old. I make a lot of money.
How much do you make? Why don't you tell us how much you make?
This year, if my deal closes, I'll make $260,000 this year.
If your deal closes.
How much is
yes.
What if your deal doesn't close?
I'll make probably $210,000.
Okay.
So it's
despite the fact that you're a 1% earner, you still want a guy to you want men to take care of everything?
I think you asked a really good question. If you don't mind if I go back to that.
Sure.
You said a question, you go, how do you reconcile your past essentially and then being a traditional woman? I struggle with that every single day.
Yeah, you don't have much grace for people that do it now, I'll tell you that.
Right.
Literally at all.
Right, exactly. So how are you someone that is a woman that has such a past and then is coming into now men will look at me and they'll go like, what was your past? And I will tell them I'm an open book. I'm an open book now.
Okay, pretend you're on the first date with Jeff, and Jeff's like, "Hi, I want to know your past."
I wouldn't say on the first date.
Okay, pretend it's the third date, and pretend you're on it now, and pretend you're not on the podcast.
Yeah.
It's being live recorded, and this is.
Okay. Go.
So.
Role play.
Do you have a bullet list? Can you just give us the bullet list of all the things you would feel the need to disclose to a future partner of by the way, I was involved in a train. I was in a train. There was a train. I got a train ran on me. Is that one of the things you might disclose? Choo choo, motherfucker.
I never did any choo-chooing. I never did any of that. But I think that it is very important that I think it is important. I don't.
Yeah, what did you do? I'd like to know.
I don't want to.
Just while we have this nice dinner here.
Here, wait. Let me get the champagne. Hold on.
Go.
Please. A drink.
Yeah.
Is there actually champagne?
We do have champagne.
No,
but
wait.
let's
Can we
not-
have some?
A drink would hit
Yes,
so
we can.
fucking good
Come
right
on.
now.
You're not 21. Sorry. I'm not gonna. You can't. We
Oh,
can't.
I would love
understand.
some champagne. We can choose.
Nah, I mean, if somebody wants to do somebody in the chat, there is a champagne trigger. Read
Oh,
the-
there
Wait,
you
and
go.
that would make us
There
have
you go.
champagne?
I can't
Yes.
imagine her
Dear
drunk.
Jesus, please.
Someone-
She'll show her tits, or one
Can
of them
one
will.
of your simps or whatever?
Yeah,
Okay.
say that about
I
someone else.
I mean,
yeah,
I
we
mean,
don't
they
say
may,
that.
they may.
that you had
No,
a
don't
pay.
fucking say that
They
shit.
won't.
Yeah,
They won't.
don't
They may.
say
Then
that.
they won't.
You're the
They
only
won't.
one who said that you had a sex pass, so
Yeah,
you probably
so
would.
why are you
Wait,
gonna
but why
bring that
are you
up
coming
at
for
her?
so much for her?
I don't even get it.
I'm not.
She was so nice to you in the beginning.
When I
I'm
arrived
not.
here and
You
she,
pointed
like,
directly
she
at
spoke
her
to
and you
me.
were like, someone probably would.
When I arrived here and she spoke to me, she said, "I'm doing this because I want to be famous." So
Oh,
I'm like,
wow.
That's true.
1,000%.
She wants to be famous. I never.
What's the
shared
tea, Mia?
She,
That's the
What's
tea.
the tea?
She was an actress. She didn't succeed, unfortunately. She's being
Oh,
featured
failed?
on Tubi
I was
soon
a
in
failed actress,
January,
correct.
March,
My
I
biggest
think.
movie's on Tubi.
On
Okay.
Tubi. It's coming
Let other
out,
people
so
talk.
She wants to be an actress.
I
and
don't
she
even
wants
know
to
what
be
it's
famous,
called.
That's fine. But I just think it's really interesting that you're coming at me so much because I
I'm not
really,
coming
I
at
am not.
you specifically.
You really are, though.
You really are. Like it's.
I think
you're not
maybe
just
you
coming
feel that
at-
way, but I think I've just kind of
Look,
spoke on a
if
lot
I
of
feel
people.
that way,
Well,
spoke a
let
little
me
too
come
much.
come after her just a little bit, if you don't mind. I was curious because every time you're asked a question, this is the gal who was a prostitute. Every time you're asked a question on how you reconcile your traditional values with modernity and how you think about things in modernity, you just kind of restate the question and then run away from the question.
Okay, so
Can you
do
actually
that?
answer the question?
Yes. Do you mind re-asking, and I'll be like completely like at face value with it?
Yeah, so how are you able to hold the viewpoints that you have right now for what you consider to be traditionalism as the path going forward and something that you value, even knowing that you were essentially a prostitute and you seem to be against feminism, whereas at the same time you agree that feminism has led to the culture of modernity that you don't like. And without restating it to me, can you actually answer to how you reconcile those things?
Yeah, 1,000%. Whenever I was doing it, I was under the guise that this is what feminism is. I was taking back the power. I was bringing back body. And I think that's what a lot of OnlyFans models would say now. They're bringing back their own power. I am in charge of my own body. I make funds off my body. No other man does. So when I was in it, I thought I was liberating myself as a woman. I thought this is peak feminism. I am doing what I'm going to do, and I'm going to get $1,500 for it. I was completely under that delusion. And what I hate is that that it's evolved, and it is it torments me, I think. And I will never be a true high value woman. I will never.
Yeah, but hang on. Before you move on too
Go.
much into the explanation,
Yeah.
I want to make sure that you actually are hearing the question which is asked. I understand that you say that I fell into this trap of feminism and now I
Yeah.
reject it, but you still don't reject the early feminism which led to that.
Oh,
and this
like
is the
first and second
reconciliation
wave?
that I never actually hear you make is why would you still be supportive of those earlier waves, knowing that the result was you ending up being a prostitute?
1,000%. And that's something that I'll never have the answer to, and I don't understand. I agree. You guys can all laugh, but the first wave was to vote, and the second wave was to have jobs. The third wave has caused fucking having OnlyFans.
I think I
I'm
understand.
gonna have. I don't know what the answer is.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
I think what is
Well,
happening
wouldn't
right
the
now-
answer, if you wanted to be consistent, be to say, listen, I have to actually reject those first two waves, knowing that it led to the kind of conditions which led to me feeling like I was empowered by being a prostitute?
Okay, but then that would be saying that
I'll let you
women
come in
shouldn't
just a second.
vote. And
Well, I didn't say that.
No,
but
I know.
Let's say it was an entailment that that's true. That if
you were to reject the first and
let's just
second
assume.
wave.
Hang on, just wait 1 second. Let's just assume for a second that the entailment of the position of there's no more prostitutes, but women also couldn't vote. Would you take that?
You know what? I very much may. As
Well,
demeaning
right.
as
So
it may
then
sound.
maybe you can just say I reject earlier forms of feminism because what it's led to in modernity is way worse for the outcomes of people than if it had not occurred to begin with, right?
But I am curious that maybe something went wrong along the way. You know, after.
Okay,
after
can
the
you
second
point to
wave.
what that would be? besides the fact that it was women's empowerment? And isn't that what led to you feeling empowered by being a sex worker?
Yeah, the sexual revolution was really, really weird for women in the 60s. You know?
Yeah, but that was wave 2, right?
That was wave 2, exactly.
Yeah,
It was
so
birth
but that was a
control
direct
and free sex,
oh,
yeah.
Yeah, but that was a direct result of wave 1, where the pushing of the original architects of feminism were pushing for that sexual revolution. That's
Yeah.
what they wanted, was that sexual revolution.
Mm-hmm.
That was key to why they wanted these values in women, and then they got that sexual revolution. And you are basically claiming you were a victim of that sexual revolution by buying into the feminist propaganda. So why not just say, I reject feminism categorically? Wouldn't that be the most consistent and logical thing you could do?
Yes, I think you're 100% correct. I would agree with that. Yeah.
So can you
think-
say, I
think-
reject feminism?
Are we using 1,000% scale or 100% scale? Because you've been using a lot of different numbers.
100,000. Yeah, I agree. 100,000%.
100,000% you reject feminism, right?
I think inevitably, I think you have a point. I think it's so easy to kind of look back and say this was good, but then this was bad. It's a direct result of it, and I think you may be on to something.
I'd like to learn more about the other people on the show.
I would
Me
too.
too.
Let me get a couple chats and then we'll. Oh, did you? I think you had something, Athena, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. Also that the comment.
Oh,
but
NPT. That was my
I don't know
diagnosis
which way to point for that, but
as a podcast host.
I think that if you have that kind of dissonance in you where you had this one lifestyle and then you have this lifestyle that you aspire to and they're so vastly different, you cannot achieve the perfect standard of what you want your lifestyle to be, you're gonna lash it out and like not feel good about yourself, and then you're gonna put that on people like her.
True.
I agree. I definitely can see that.
Oh, I don't feel. I don't want ever. I don't look at women like you, and I look at you and I go, oh, she's beneath me. I have none of that in me at all. What I feel for women, I generally don't. When I look at women like you that are engaged in sex work, I feel sorry
Why?
That's so.
because they're engaging in sex work.
Okay.
Okay.
You're not acting like you're sorry
feel
though.
inferior.
Like when I said earlier you should apologize to her and you didn't. That's not you don't feel bad for her. You're not sorry
I'm not
for
sorry
her.
for my opinion. No.
Okay.
Wait, so do you want her to apologize to
And I don't,
Mia?
and I appreciate, but I don't need an apology from somebody like that. And regardless, I agree. I completely agree. I think at the end of the day, if she has such a she has such a prevalent past with prostitution or sex work.
I love how we're like really like being like sex shaming here. We're like,
You are.
It's a
all
prostitution.
you.
It's prostitution.
You just-
You're the one with
sorry.
the strong opinions about this stuff.
and it's just kind of like,